Hi everyone. So just a reminder, what I share in these videos is for informational purposes only. If you, your family, or your children are in a crisis beyond the scope of what I share in these videos, please seek professional help. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I posted a video on my Facebook page about a family that I saw while I was in Hawaii, where the children were complaining of being cold and bored, and the parents were complaining about how ungrateful they felt their children were being. I also shared how I could see, hear, and feel where both the children and the parents were coming from. If you've not seen the video, I will post the link below. While I am sharing this example of Hawaii, I think it offers insight into many other places you may travel as a family and still have some of the challenges the family I saw had. The shortest flight time, I believe, to the Big Island of Hawaii is about 5 hours. Airplanes are often crowded, seating is typically, elbow to elbow, and most of us have to spend well over 90% of the flight in our seats, and access to restrooms can be challenging. Depending on the airline and where you are seated, the options for entertainment can be fairly limited as well. Therefore, the ability to get out and stretch your legs, use the restroom, get a good rest, eat well, and keep busy can be challenging. All of these things and the duration of your flight can find you by the time you've landed, collected your luggage, gotten transportation to wherever you're going, and finally checked into where you are staying. You can be grumpy, tired, and worn out. Now, I've only stayed on 2 of the Hawaiian Islands, so I can only speak to my experiences on the Big Island and Maui. And the majority of places that I've seen, even the big resorts, don't have close access to all of the sites and activities you might want to access. Oftentimes, you have to travel for a bit to get to many places. Now, of course, I didn't have a conversation with the family, so I can only take a guess as to what the situation may have been, and kind of also base it on some of my experiences with my children and what I've learned over time working with my clients. Starting with the parents, as I mentioned in the video, vacations, especially to places like Hawaii, can get pricey. You've got flights, car rentals, taxi, Uber, lodging, food, eating out, activities, souvenirs, and other expenses. Vacations for most mean that the parents are taking time off of work, something they've spent a lot of time accruing the hours for in order to be able to do so. And they may have put a lot of time and energy into planning something they thought would be fun for everyone. As well as I mentioned in the video, not every family gets to go on a vacation, especially to places like Hawaii. It's fair for the parents to hope that their children would appreciate all that they had done and hoped that it would be fun, would be had by all. But if these things, everyone having fun, their children appreciating that the parents did, all that the parents did and had to do to make the vacation happen, if this is something the parents were expecting, they may have set themselves up for disappointment, the one that they were experiencing. So here is where I think the children may have been coming from. It may have been that every day that they were there, they were doing what mom and dad planned. It indeed, as the children said, may have gotten boring for them. Complaining that they were cold and bored could also have simply been their way of expressing that they were tired, wanted to maybe just hang out by the pool where they were staying, or simply not be as busy as mom and dad were keeping them. Another important thing to remember about Hawaii is that the islands are about as close to the sun as you can get, which means the intensity and effects of the sun can lead, yes, to easier burning, but also to heat exhaustion. When the teen, in response to his parents saying, we didn't have to bring you, said, we didn't ask to come, while it may sound disrespectful and ungrateful, maybe Hawaii isn't or wasn't their idea of a fun vacation. And rather than them just being ungrateful, they were just as caught up in the frustration as their parents were and spoke from that same state of heightened emotions that they were experiencing in the moment. So rather than swearing off ever taking a family vacation again, or taking offense to what your children say or do, or being convinced, embarrassed, or angry at what seems like disrespect or ungratefulness in your children, what are some things to consider, plan for, prepare for, and be aware of for the next time you plan an outing with the family? Whether you're making a trip to the grocery store, visiting family or friends, or going on a vacation, here are a few tips to help everyone enjoy the outing. I'm going to start with the simple basics. Make sure you and your children are well fed. Make sure you and your children are well rested. Talk about where you're going, what they might expect, and what the plans are. Ask and involve your children, whether it's creating the grocery list, helping you put items in the cart, talking with them about the family and friends you're going to be visiting, or helping plan out what you'll be doing and where you will be going on vacation. Getting your children involved can help them keep from getting bored, feeling anxiety about the people they haven't seen or met, and feeling like they are part of the plans. Also important, stick to the routine you have at home as much as possible. If your child is not feeling well, keep that in mind if their behavior seems off or if they're moody. When traveling long distances, have things to help keep your children entertained. Take frequent breaks where you can so they can move around, burn some energy, use the restroom, and recharge. Remember that your child's attention span is short, that some environments, while fun and exciting, can also be overwhelming and overstimulating, and that even though your child may seem to have an endless supply of energy, they will tire out much sooner than you. They're kind of like a cheetah who initially can run upwards of 60 miles an hour in a sprint, but will lose that stamina after a short time. And there are those children who, despite being tired, seem to have a new burst of energy. That's still fatigue talking, and helping them rest and recharge is so important. Okay, for day-long adventures like an amusement park, consider staying where you can take breaks as needed. It's pretty crazy how many miles we end up walking and how many hours pass by, and that can be a lot for our children. When doing things close to home, even though it may seem a quick trip to you, your child with their short attention span and cheetah-like stamina will not have the patience and extended release energy that you have. If your child starts getting grumpy, fussing, or complaining, take a look at how long you've been out. If you know you're going to have to be out for a while, be sure to pack small snacks and have something that they can drink that will keep them hydrated. When you go places that they enjoy, the park, play dates, and things like that, give your child, say, a 10-minute heads up before it's time to go. Make sure they hear you and acknowledge this. Many children have no sense of time, especially when they're having fun. But this 10-minute warning gives them and you a signal that they will be needing to leave soon. When it's time to go, be prepared that your child may get upset, complain, and resist. Oftentimes, children can think that this is the last time they'll ever get to do this again, even if they've done these activities many times before. Acknowledge that they're unhappy about having to leave. You can say something like, "I know you were having so much fun and you don't want to go. I wish we could stay longer too." Then talk about when you can do it again. "Let's make a plan to do this again soon," is something you can say. With my children, when we got in the car, we would talk about when we would go next, and then when we got home, we would put it on a whiteboard calendar, and they would put an X on the days that passed until we could go again. For things like going to the grocery store and places that have anything you think your child might ask for, I would pre-frame the plan before you go. We are going to insert the name of the store, and we are going to shop for insert whatever you're going to shop for only. With my children, I had them bring their wish list. It was a pad of paper and a pen where they could write anything and everything down that they saw that they wanted, and when people asked them what they would like on gift-giving occasions, they could share their list. I also made it clear that they very likely would not get everything they had written down. And you know what? The majority of the time, well over half of what they had written down, they no longer wanted or cared about when the time came that people asked them what they wanted for the gift-giving occasions. It's wild. The wish list saved me from having to say no or not this time, and helped them stay calm and collected because all I had to do was say, "Put it on your wish list." I can hear some of you thinking and saying that children need to hear the word no, that they need to understand that they can't have everything they want. The thing is, our children hear no from us so often that, in my opinion, whenever we can say yes while we are saying no, they feel seen, heard, and acknowledged, while the reality that it is not happening this time is still happening. Again, children may think that if they don't get it right now, that the item will disappear. They may not grasp that there is a large supply, and just like us, when we really wanted something but could not get it at the time, they get FOMO, that fear of missing out. The wish list also taught my children to be less impulsive when they shop. They're adults now. Well, one of them's a teenager. My other three are adults. So many times they'll share with me that they put things in their carts, they finish up their other shopping, and go through the cart again, oftentimes putting things back. They do the same thing with online shopping. They kind of put it in the cart, they wait a little while, they come back and kind of decide, nah, I don't really need that. They also notice the cost of things. When they would write down what they wanted, They also saw the price tag, and they're still mindful of that to this day. For longer adventures, say 3 to 6 hours, remember the simple basics. That you guys are well fed, that you're well rested, that you kind of have a plan for what you're going to be doing. And then have them help you with some of the planning. Allow your children to bring something that comforts them if they won't. Make sure that, again, that everyone is well fed and has had sufficient sleep. Have everyone go to the restroom before you leave, even if they think they don't have to go. When traveling by car, take stretch and potty breaks often. Stick to the routine you have at home as much as possible. Now, whatever method of travel you're using, make sure to have enough snacks and drinks on hand to keep everyone satiated and hydrated. Bring things to help keep your children entertained. I know parents are not big fans of screens, and travel may be one of those situations where they get to spend a little more time on screens, since things like board games, puzzles, and the like are more challenging to do, and reading for some can cause motion sickness. On the subject of motion sickness, have supplies on hand for those who do get motion sickness, who may be prone to headaches or any other travel-related discomforts. When flying, bring things like lollipops, gum, or teach your children how to release the pressure in their ears during takeoff and landing. When going to places like amusement parks, particularly ones that take more than one day to see and do things, what worked really well with my family was to set aside one day each for driving there and one day for coming home. Yes, this does add to the cost, but it really helped everyone acclimate and relax. For us, our drive to the amusement park would often take at least 4 hours. By the time we would get there, we were all a little worn out. We would check in and do whatever we wanted. Sometimes we'd go to the pool, sometimes we'd go out to dinner, sometimes we would go to the little shopping centers outside of the park. And then we would be well rested for the next day and spend whatever days we wanted to in the park. On the day we left, we would get up whenever we got up, have breakfast, do any last-minute souvenir shopping, and then head back home. We also made it a point to stay within a half-mile or a short shuttle ride back to our hotel. That way, when my children needed to rest, we could go back to the hotel quickly and easily. The time we spend in an amusement park can go by very fast, and before we know it, 5, 6, 7 hours have passed, and that can be a really long time for your child. As well, the amount of walking we do, while it may not seem like much to us, can be too much for our children. If you don't pack a stroller, consider investing in one or renting one. That way you and your children can still get around the park, but they won't be worn out, fussy, and grumpy. Another important thing to consider with amusement parks is that all of the people, the sounds, the smells, the rides, and the activity can become overwhelming and overstimulating. The complaining, the whining, the crying, and the tantrum behavior may simply because they need to take a break from it all. And again, sticking as much to the routine you have at home is also very helpful. For travel by car, that is more than 6 hours. In addition to everything I suggest for the traveling 3 to 6 hours, I recommend staying the night in a hotel so that you and your children can get an extended time out of the vehicle for more movement, relaxation, meals, and actual beds to sleep in. When traveling across time zones, sticking as close to the routine you have at home can be a game changer here. A change in time zones may be dysregulating for children, particularly when their bodies are used to it being dark at a certain time, but instead it's bright outside. Or when they're used to eating at a certain time, and let's say now they're eating breakfast when they're used to it being lunchtime. The time zone change can also make them more tired or more energized at various times of the day. So when they're restless or start to get grumpy, keep in mind that their bodies are just trying to re-regulate. All right, here are a few other tips and suggestions for travel. Ride-on luggage. This helps little feet get less tired. It helps you keep your children close, and it's a fun ride for them. For first-time flyers, whenever possible, see if you can find a local airport, maybe a smaller one, and if you only have access to a bigger one, then then do it. But make a trip to the airport and walk them through the steps and processes. Get them familiar with the hustle and bustle of the airport and where they're going to walk and things like that. When flying, try to get the earliest morning flight out, the least amount of layovers, and if you have to do a layover, see if you can find an airport that's child-friendly. Many have playgrounds and activities for children, and for longer layovers, consider leaving the airport for a change of scenery. Pack a kit of things to keep your children busy, distracted, and comfortable. Coloring stickers, band-aids, they can spend so much time peeling and sticking band-aids. Handheld devices with games and activities, headphones, snacks, lollipops or gum for their ears, and a favorite toy or blanket for comfort. Strollers that have a place and space for your baby and your toddler can also be a game changer. I appreciate that this may sound like a lot, and a bit of preparation can go a long way in helping everyone enjoy even a quick trip to the store. If you have thoughts, questions, concerns, or would like to discuss something I haven't covered here, please post in the comments below. And until next time, remember, parenting is not a cookie cutter process. Meet your child where they are and grow from there. Bye-bye.